Good day. Yes, in my Bolshevik Communist Red, I'm going to talk to you about the great metal that is platinum. Platinum also goes by the name or the code XPT, and it can be dollar, XPT, whatever you feel like. In essence, I'm starting you off on relative valuations. This is a very powerful thing to do. Something we spend a lot of time in our community doing, looking at how one particular construct is weighed up in value relative to another. In other words, the dollar is an unreliable greased pole which is continually seeing you as monkey sliding down it as they proliferate ever more of them. So it is something that is being inflated away. So it's helpful in terms of relative valuation to see where the big strength is and where the moves are. And these are the message of our times. The basis for comparison for all your wealth building is completely corrupted by the central banking cartel. Let me say that again. All bases, particularly where it involves fiat, for measuring your wealth is completely corrupted by the central banking fiat issuing cartel of criminals. That's where you're at. So what do? You take things they don't issue and you compare them. It's like going back to barter. I'll trade you some platinum for some palladium. I'll trade you some platinum for rhodium. I'll trade you some pork bellies for soybeans. So the point of the game is to see what aspects of the market are more strongly set up and are illustrating relative strength. So why the case for platinum? It's actually been the laggard. It is the laggard. Of precious metals, it is the complete and utter laggard. And for that reason, I've been watching and observing it, because eventually at some point, even the laggards turn and then they can play catch up. So let's have a look at some interesting facts before I jump deep in and do a deep dive into the charts. Let's just do this for you right here. This is Statista. That's actually a South African site, company. It's been made broadly available. Of the total platinum that's produced worldwide, in other words, the reserves of platinum worldwide, not just produced in a single year, total reserves above ground worldwide. That's like the same thing for gold being a 10, 12 trillion value, gold above ground type scenario, and 2 Olympic swimming pools, etc. How much platinum is there? And you'll find that platinum in total, there's 63,000 platinum ounces above ground in South Africa, and there's a total in the world of 69. So that should tell you that Russia, that massive land mass that spans 7 time zones, pulls out less than 4 compared to a country that is pulling out 63. So that is pretty huge in terms of scale of differential. You're talking nigh on 15x, 16 times the amount between number 1 and number 2. The world is totally reliant on the despotic ANC run Republic of South Africa for its platinum. In fact, Ramaphosa, in protecting what I expect are Rothschild interests that are very much all over the axis of Anglo-American platinum and all these other aspects that also see the shares listed in United States, New York and London, where the criminals hang out of dark state and sit on their assets and cuddle their precious metals that are being extracted from the ground. Ramaphosa actually had police fire on striking workers involving, I think it was, platinum mines. You can go Google for that story for yourself. It's now more than a handful of years old, and he subsequently became president. So shooting your own citizens is not really a problem if you're doing the bidding of your grand master in London. Anyway, so 69,000 in total, 1,200 in Zimbabwe, another very stable African nation that you could feel very comfortable in securing your supply line. United States, we know how big it is, 900 compared to 63,000. Canada, a third of America. So they really are the rats and mice of the platinum market. So what could possibly go wrong when your biggest suppliers are South Africa, Russia, and Zimbabwe, you might ask? Well, potentially a lot of things. But Platinum, by now, hopefully you understand, is exceedingly rare. And as you'll probably also note by this, the platinum group generally of metals, because platinum is the primary metal, but there is also a platinum group which includes palladium, rhodium, and one or two others, are all exceedingly rare compared to gold. In fact, there are very few pure plays, and only largely in South Africa are they there. And the largest of which is around Anglo-American. Last year, 130 of the 69,000 metric tons were produced. So people talk about how much something goes up and the fact that new can be, there's a proliferation. You can see too the total that is being claimed, 130. What is the exponent of increase annually if the largest producer brings to the table 130? Let's add the 22 of Russia in there as well. So let's go 152. Start that sum again. Work with me, 152, or call it 160 with everyone else, America and Canada, because they're so small. So once you've got Russia and South Africa out the way, divide by the 69,000 that is assessed. How much does supply expand? 1.17, only 5 decimals behind. So people often say, at gold markets, you can 1.1, 1.2, going up mid 1%. In terms of this particular metal, it's very, very slow, the expansion. This truly is the Bitcoin after the 9th halvening. How many more tokens still have to come out type metal. So you're not going to have a glut of platinum. Let's go back to the charts and talk about it in a little bit more detail. So this is relative assessment. That's what I was saying. And I went and took the probably one of the consistently strongest platinum metal of a number of years. We will also take the recent flyer, and we'll talk about rhodium as well. But we've divided platinum by palladium. So that's that assessment up there. XPT divide XPD. And this is the perpetual decline. So let's just understand, it once took 5.4 palladium ounces in 09. You're talking in the bottom of the great financial crisis, 09, it took 5.4 ounces of palladium to secure you 1 ounce of platinum. Today, it's inverted entirely, and you hit probably a low in and around 0.3. That means only less than a third of an ounce of palladium secured you an ounce of platinum. Most of that has come about through the industrial demand, which is catalytic converters and green. And I suspect there's something else going on that we're not seeing where these metals are directed to. You need to understand that the consumption and purchase of these metals are very well controlled. It's not even like the gold and silver markets where you have the COMEX and you have that in China markets. They're very thin and very narrow markets. These companies are controlled by what I'd consider the legacy family money of London, and they're listed in London, New York, everywhere, and sundry, and they are run by miners, mining groups in Africa, with all that goes with that. And it wouldn't surprise me that they're being used in maybe some of the space elements that we don't get told the full amount, and they're just plain valuable and bloody rare. And I don't think it's all going into the arse end of cars. But that's just me, not trusting everybody. In the industrial context, though, supposedly diesels were being phased out, and the platinum was used in catalytic converters in diesel cars, and that the switch back to hybrids and also battery and petrol was seeing palladium preferred. That's the official narrative anyway. And I've touched on this before. This is a huge technical falling wedge that you've just dribbled out of against on these two pairs. And you're talking about something that was once 1:5, now 0.3. So it's got to go up the better part of 3.5 times just to get back to 1-to-1, and then it would have to, if it were to reach those giddy heights where it was before, you're talking about a 15x. This would be in an environment where palladium would still potentially be showing strength. And actually, in this worldview, I'm thinking the precious metals are potentially staging the early signs of a return move to bullishness. And we pointed out when we did our gold silver on a live stream not so long ago that I expected them to trade up that week from Monday, and they did. That was from almost a new low on silver. We can maybe take a quick run past. But anyway, falling wedge, you've dribbled out of the falling wedge. It hasn't pumped in any context yet. If we log scale that, you might get a different kind of percentage feel for how it's moved in terms of percent. And we've seen rallies before, like there and there, but they've become far less. And then you have typically always a final capitulation that occurs. And that was very much what happened there. In percentage terms, that was very destructive. You went from 0.64 to 0.3. That was literally a halvening. And that's why I think the first green shoots of one of the rarest metals that is typically traded for more than the price of gold. We will go to the platinum dollar chart in a minute, but I first want to just give you some relative valuations first to play a little bit almost with your mind. What if we took gold instead of palladium? Now, palladium had been extremely strong. We'll show you the palladium chart. This is palladium against the dollar. Let's just clean the face. This is what palladium's done. This is the sister group, platinum group metal with platinum. It's gone from around 153 in 209. The gold would have been 400 or 500 at that time. And it's actually trading higher than gold today, 2,349. You might be saying, what's gold today? I'll give you a quick peek, 1851. So now you know. So palladium has been an immense performer. We were measuring it against one of the strongest over a number of years performers when we were showing you the palladium chart. It's in this big structure. It got very wild on the swings there. Very wild. A little bit choppy. Needs to calm down a little bit and probably be slower. It'll be relatively okay, but it's not going to go exceedingly strong until gold properly gets back on its horse and is in full canter mode. And we're not quite there yet for gold and silver. Speaking of which, if I just show you this against the dollar on the daily, gold and silver, overall, how do I look at it technically? We're still in a bit of a flagging structure, which is how I've spoken of it. We usually put a splitter on there, and we're on we've broken up, we've revisited the halfway mark. We're going to start squaring up, and at some point I'm expecting this upper flag level to be broken, but it's going to take its merry old time crossing. I think this probably could be the final low for the overall precious metal. And why do we look at gold when we're talking about platinum? Because it's the God market, it's the big boy. And also, I expect gifts. I expect gifts out of the Fed. The Fed will be talking soon. That's going to be really interesting. And, the American election is up. And we're kind of in an environment where, the economic system as we know it, I mean, the money printers are going to start to go again, almost certainly, on a scale that you've probably not seen before. Modern monetary theory is here. There's UBI on ramps, so there's a lot going on that are going to be exceedingly supportive for something that can't be proliferated. Let's continue with our platinum jaws. That was platinum divided by gold. I'm going to take you back up to the monthly time frame and highlight this as well. So for me over here, you kind of had a final capitulation low against gold as well. Not quite as stark a falling wedge, but still nonetheless, you're going to see this DNA all the way across all the comparables in that it's just been the tail of platinum. It's just been unloved and it hasn't been chased up in quite the same way. Now, this final capitulation and then this flat bottom and this first move up is pretty telling for me against gold, and is showing a degree of relative performance. If we drop down into the weekly, you can see quite a bit of impulsiveness that came out of that rather flat failure to make a new low. We've clawed back quite a large amount at the high there of that final capitulative spill. So I warn, in markets before the lows, you usually get a final capitulative spill. This is price behavior. It's how it tends to work. This is what we've got here over there. Then you've gone flat, no new low, and in actual fact, it's almost like short covering. There's a couple of people that might have been squeezed and had to get out of what was a one-way bet. The one-way bet comes to an end potentially. And that's essentially, remember, this is still a cross valuation of platinum against gold, our God market. One more relative assessment, and then we'll go to, was the one we've already seen. What was the first one? That was gold. Maybe I did 2 of gold. That's enough. Let's go straight through to the platinum chart now against the dollar. Now, the dollar has not been quite as strong as gold, as you're very aware, and certainly not as strong as palladium. It's proliferated. The printers will run. We've been watching this for an extended period, and in actual fact, it's very similar in a way even to the oil chart, which also in time, despite the fall in demand, brought about by yours truly's scamdemics and all the other dark state schemes that they are perpetuating against the citizens and everything that will come and follow that. And I'm afraid it ain't over. If you're thinking 2021 is going to be a freedom year, I would suggest to you reconsider. Not unless you're prepared to get your vax. Anyway, enough of that. Platinum falling wedge here as well. Final capitulation. Again, you're getting the signs of a final capitulation that is occurring right there. And then you get a snapback rally which claims it. And actually, for the first time, you're trading higher. Now, I'd argue to you that the squeezing of the wedge that came with this huge smackdown that went with the GFC, despite it being reinflated, it got hit down hard again, and then a third time, and then our final fourth last time is a trick. And at this point, that was probably the buy of the century. It was kind of Bitcoin COVID, and this is platinum COVID low. And since then, largely I would expect upside out of platinum. So take a picture of that in your mind's eye, and let's talk about equities, because you can also play metals through equities. I want to show you something quite interesting surrounding platinum. Top 5 equities, swipe our face. Anglo-American Platts, good old Oppenheimer, Rothschild, dark state, forever money, behind the Boer Wars and everything that happened, securing the diamonds and the precious metals of Africa, utilizing and leaning on the Queen and the Prime Ministers of then to send English soldiers, working class kids, to go die in another country so that they can secure those resources. Remember, this all stems from the Dutch East India Company, which had the Sassoons that were selling opium to the Chinese. Also, Rothschild family, same structure, ethnicity. The Sassoons embedded themselves in Chinese culture, and they enforced and had the British go and fight and die in China and seized Hong Kong, which Britain then held until 96. As part of securing their right to trade when they needed products from China, such as silk, and Chinese wanted nothing from them. They turned them all into opium addicts. What nice people, the Sassoons, as I say, deeply married back into the Rothschild family many times over, same kind of people. And the Dutch East India Company at its peak had well over $1 trillion market cap in today's money, well beyond even the likes of Apple. In other words, there was only one highway to trade with the East, and they owned it. It was a monopoly, run out of the Amsterdam coffee shops and the London coffee shops, with the same characters that I reference in my reset sniper videos. Anyway, enough, back to the equities. Anglo-American, Impala Platt. I'm going to skip Sibanye and we'll look at Northam. So these are 3 SA known mines to me in the platinum field, and we can take a little look at how they are doing in the charts. So snapshot that against the dollar. That's how it looks. Let's have a look at those equities and see how they went. Before I do, I want to also show you an even rarer than platinum, but of the same family, metal, that hasn't been doing as well as palladium for as long as palladium, but suddenly awoke since 17 and went into an absolute moonshoot, and is the highest, fastest performer and the rarest of the platinum group, aka rhodium. How many people do you know even talk about rhodium? Typically it's used as an alloy that gets combined with platinum and makes it's very hard and prevents any form of corrosion. So you literally get sprinklings of rhodium that gets combined as an alloy in platinum to make sure that you don't get rust, which is why those catalytic converters in the arse end of cars don't rust, despite being left outside in the rain, wind and snow in muddy windswept islands like the United Kingdom. Anyway, so you could have had rhodium down here at around 60.37 an ounce, 1,230. That's quite a crypto pool. So bear that in mind as we pop over to the equities. Let's have a little look at Anglo first. So if you recalled, the falling wedge structure carries through also into these equities. Ignore that gap. There's a data gap there. That's 97 to 2003. So that chart is meaningless before then because there's a data gap. What a beautiful HVF. By the way, the links are below. Join our community. You can build wealth in these freedom restricting times. Money will buy you freedom in a way that most people are not going to be able to afford. When the UBI comes, trust me, it's like picking over picking up the soap in the prisoner's shower with 5 blokes behind you. When the UBI comes, they're going to bang you forever for picking up the UBI and taking it. You're going to have the VAX, you're going to have the updates. You're going to have to do just like they say. You're going to have to be tracked and traced, and you're going to have to surrender every notion of any form of freedom you've ever had. And it's kind of depressing. I can't do too many reset snipers because I can't talk positive about things that aren't going well. I'm not going to do that. And it's pretty goddamn depressing. But having some wealth during these times, we'll be able to say, you know what, I'm not taking it, and I'm a conscientious objector. When you deliver one that doesn't have baby DNA from aborted fetal tissues, mercury and everything else, I'll probably consider it. So you do a denial on basis of ingredient, not an absolute denial. And you might be able to survive and run for a while, and you don't need their money, and you'll invest it in ever escalating things while the others just need their UBI just to survive in the big MMT Bolshevik communist experiment that they are perpetuating against us. Back to the equity, falling wedge breaks here, saunters around for a while, then gets fairly uppity, and then next thing you know, back down, big slap, COVID. And then here we are now. Now that's actually quite an interesting little piece of price behavior. This was absolutely beautiful. First in a new trend, major moon shoot. This was running into the dot-com boom, knowing they would print and forever. And of course, lots of purchases of vehicles were going ahead, and quite a lot of them diesel during those times. Was very, very powerful for platinum. So the mines did exceptionally well. Let's have a little look at this price behavior more recently. Squeezy, so Japanesey. Push up and then eventual throwdown with our dramas. Don't like this daily view. It's a bit too spotty, the chart. It's a problem depending on which platform you elect to trade it on. But the structure overall is potentially interesting. So you've had a snapback rally post-COVID, and this is where you are. It's one that you could consider. in the reassertment of the precious metals bull. The interesting thing is the equities, unlike gold and silver, are ahead of the metal. So the platinum price is trading so badly and is lagging so much, but the equities have already begun the run. Why would that be when actually in gold and silver we're kind of waiting for the equities to play a bit of catch up to a monumental move that gold has made, better part from 1200, 1300 to the 1900, which for gold is, for the 10, 12 trillion market cap, pretty spectacular and quite short form. Anyway, let's see if it's any different for Impala Platinum, and you'll see that the DNA is very, very similar. We'll go firstly to the monthly. Again, bad data, falling wedge, breakout, return move, courtesy of the scamdemic, and very strong, very, very, very strong. And as I say, has traded in and around the 2007 era at the better part of going for 50, trading at 12, and it's done quite a lot. You could have had it at the CV19s at 2. So that's a 6x in that already. So it's not unattractive, Impala Platinum on the monthly. And if we drop down, as I've said, to the daily, we'll stay with 3 daily. You're squeezing higher. You're squeezing higher. This shakeout on COVID, you've already pushed to a new high. You've taken it back and you squeezed to a new high. And this is, as I say, without the metal really getting going yet. Without the metal really getting going yet. Let's look at platinum against the dollar again. It's only just broken out of the wedge after a major final capitulation, all-time low, multi-decade. That monthly chart again. The last time you were as low as $564 was in 2002. I believe that's 18 years ago. Last time you were that low. You touched it on the CV19. It was an awful, awful era. Now, in fairness, there has been a bit of fizzle back. So if we go back to that 3 daily, been a little bit of fizzle back while we wait for a return move. We've just broken the wedge, a return move. So is platinum the best metal play at a super? Is it cheap gold? It's rarer than gold. It has very unique properties. The industrial use is one thing, but it is genuine, legit bullion. If the industrial use never comes, it has real bullion value as really unique metal. You know, your platinum Rolexes sell for more. They were top of the range over your white gold. So is it the entry play? And could the equities further outperform, or was it have they already backdated some of priced in some of platinum's further upside? This is a question you need to ask. So we looked at Impala, and we were showing you there on the big time frame, very similar structure and how it's ahead of the game. The equities on platinum may be really interesting. A lot of the miners that do extract platinum are copper and nickel miners. So pure platinum players are very rare. And then we have Northam. Look at that, totally different. Long-term squeezy here. You can see the dotted lines I've made in essence. That was its kind of 8-9 great financial crisis. And since then, wham. Wow. So you've gone from 4,000. This is the JSE. So this is South African rands for ease of use for Americans and people who understand the dollar. It's about 15-ish, slightly over rands to $1. So you can divide if you like. But you clearly broke out at the 5,000 point. And since then, you've run right up to 19,500 to 20,000. Now, if you just said the rand will fall too, don't forget your costs are in rands, which is very helpful because it's going to be a devaluing currency. Overall, it's part of the emerging shitcoin currency market, which has been absolutely abused. But then actually the first world nations are probably not much better. And the dollar is going to be printed like never before. But all that being said, you can say that's essentially a divided by 20, it's a $1,000 stock there at the moment. And at this point, it was divided by 20. You're at about 40 cents. Have I done that right? Knock the thousands off. 25 over 20. One quarter of a dollar, 25 cents. So interesting opportunity here for a number of platinum miners, showing that they're actually ready to grow. I think their costs have been deeply nailed down. There's a lack of work, and the killing of the economy, SMEs and others, have made plenty of labor available pretty cheap, and now it's all upside for if the metal comes through. So are platinum miners, and is platinum the best or most affordable value play into precious metals and fiat proliferation coming? I think it's worth a look. It doesn't matter what I think, it matters what you think. Many things are clearly in breakout. The platinum price itself, for me, one of the most fundamental aspects, has only just begun its journey and may in fact have a pullback. It could be accumulated in and around the 900s, low 900s area if it pulls back that far, or mid 900s if it falls for under $1,000. Your cheap gold that generally people, good people of the jury, has traded well above gold for most of its time. So if we look at gold, typically platinum here in 2008 was 2.4 times. You needed 2.4 ounces of gold to secure 1 ounce of platinum, and that today is half. Now, things don't have to return to where they once were, but I can tell you, my brother was involved in geostatistics in mining, in platinum, when I was a much younger little tyke. And even when I used to chat to him about what he did, I can tell you that platinum was almost universally always more expensive, typically between 10 and 15% more than gold for most of its time, because it is exceedingly rare. Okay, I hope that's interesting to you. Don't forget, links below, mini-series, book a call. Come and join our community. We also have an event, 20th of December, this Sunday coming. You can join us for that. Book a call if you'd like to find out more about being in our community. Links are below. HVF method, relative value assessments. We can turn out a couple of areas where there might be some cheap value. Of course, crypto might be the fastest horse, but if there's to be electronic attacks, hacking attacks, everyone has been shoehorned into digital. Nobody has cash or gold or silver. And Klaus and the WEF, and may I also add, it's quite shocking, but I can also add that we have seen, let me just find the image, The Economist as well, talking about the risk of hacking and how it's become such a big deal. And their recent article. Here is the image. I've shared it on Twitter. I'm hoping you're following us on Twitter. Hackers have vaulted into the heart of America's government, we see. Let's just boost that by size a little bit. Hackers have forced their way in. This is the lead article, by the way, on The Economist. Apart from their usual everyday pandemic updates, because you must just hear the word all the time, fear, pandemic. A new global ranking of cyber powerhouse throws up some surprises. Russian spies, it's always the Russians. It's, this is the James Bond programming concept. There's an evil Russian. Are suspected of penetrating the treasury. How convenient. They're going to steal all the dollars and they're going to have to cancel all the debt, and all the computer records are going to be spoilt, and we're going to have to just, it's such a pity we have to start again. And never again will it happen until the next time we've built up more debt in 80 years' time, and our sons of the dark state that are controlling this great proliferation game are in charge, and they can pull the same scam on another generation that doesn't know their history. Russian spies are suspected of penetrating the treasury and other departments. Hackers have vaulted into the heart of America's government. And of course, you've seen Klaus's comments on that. If you haven't, just go Google it. The next big thing will come faster than COVID. It will hit harder. It will be hacking, and it will be the power system being taken down. So they're going to hack your power supply. They're going to hack your banks. And you wonder why I am talking about the value of having platinum and not just crypto. The value of having gold and silver and maybe some platinum miners. There you have it, guys. That's our logic. That's our reason. Don't have one fast horse when you can have a stable of fast horses. Is platinum an undervalued, cheap entry into the precious metals markets? Could it play catch up? That is for you to decide. We're for education purposes. Grab the links below. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Especially don't forget the event on Sunday. 8 hours non-stop with your best guests. Till then, bye.